It's completely psychotic. Every part of this is insane. This entire thing. I'm never watching a Tucker Carlson video again. Tucker segment last night was wild. It's getting really dark. Something really dark is going on.
Good evening and welcome to Tucker Carlson Tonight. Here's an interesting story. If the New Yorker were still a real magazine, they might write it up, but of course they won't. Here it is. Last summer, deep in the bowels of the Transportation Department in Washington, some nameless federal analyst came across a highly puzzling trend in a pile of stats on traffic deaths. It turned out that in the year 2020, the number of American motorists who died on the road spiked dramatically. Traffic deaths rose by more than 10% in a single year. Now, in any year, that would be odd and distressing. But coming as it did in 2020, it was flat out bizarre because, as you'll remember, in 2020, there was a pandemic. It had just started. Millions of people stayed home that year. They did not drive to work. Many didn't drive at all. In 2020, roads were less crowded than they had been in decades in this country. So, of course, you would expect far fewer traffic deaths. Less traffic.
I gotta stop doing this, but like, I mean, I gotta stop doing the precog shit or pre-watch shit because a lot of people get fucking annoyed with me, even if I'm completely right in my prediction. Like the Abbott and Preach video where I was like, I don't even need to watch this. I know what he's going to say. He's going to fucking say that like all the COVID deaths are actually traffic fatalities. And then I'm right. But then someone will clip that and be like, dude, this Hasan literally freaking doesn't even watch a video and starts saying stuff. And then even if it's real, even if I was right with my prediction, people get fucking mad at me. Even if it was accurate, but I do think that's what he's going to say, right? I mean, are you defending yourself in advance? Yes. I'm kind of doing that already. I'm doing it. I'm doing the fucking precog thing and then also defending myself against the fucking clips that are going to come out saying he's doing it again. He's just like not watching the video. But maybe I'm wrong.
Fewer people dying in traffic. And yet, there were more traffic deaths. Think that's weird? It gets weirder. If you look deeper into the numbers, you saw that not only were more Americans dying in cars in the year 2020, a staggering number of those who died were black. Traffic deaths among African Americans rose by nearly 25% in a single year. That's unprecedented. So in a normal presidential administration, that question, why is this happening, would be the subject of urgent academic study. People are dying, let's figure out why. But in this administration, it was not the subject of urgent academic study. Why? Because Pete Buttigieg is now the Secretary of Transportation. Buttigieg once worked at McKinsey, so he already knew the cause of these deaths, and it was, needless to say, racism. Racism did it because America's roads are racist. They're killing black people. As the Washington Post put it, the Transportation Department, quote, concluded that black communities tend to be crisscrossed by more dangerous roads, end quote. Now, that made sense to the Washington Post, and you can see why. Civil engineers, road builders, bent on genocide would, needless to say, put all the dangerous roads in black neighborhoods.
Wait, what the fuck? Why does Tucker Carlson look at something that's like genuine, okay? Something that is real. And just because it features black people getting like the disproportionately bad side of the bargain, immediately say, oh, how laughable to say this. I don't understand how Tucker Carlson gets away with literally describing something that is accurate and straight up describing something that's accurate from start to finish, not even misrepresenting the facts, and then simply just say, well, that's just saying that's racist is silly. What's going on? And then everyone's like, yeah, you're right. That is silly. That's fucking crazy. It's like if you didn't hear him say, what's going on, you would probably be the most woke motherfucker. He's like doing CRT. Every night.
That's who they are. And that kind of thing happens all the time in America. This is a racist country. Joe Biden has told us that countless times. But what doesn't make sense is the timing here. Very few of these racist roads are new. Most of them had been there a long time. So why did so many...
Yeah, because racism ended in the 60s. So like, you know, new infrastructure projects famously are not going to be beholden to the old standard. But anyway, I don't even know what I don't even know how the fuck we got here.
Many black motorists suddenly start dying in the year 2020. Pete Buttigieg had no idea. He didn't even bother to guess because honestly, he didn't really care. But we do care, and we've got a theory, and here it is. If you look at the numbers, you will notice that traffic deaths among African Americans in the year 2020 surged in the month of June. Fatalities among black drivers in June 2020 were fully 55% higher than they were in June of 2019. You never see increases like that. What could have happened? Well, let's see. It was in the last week of May of 2020 that a convicted felon called George Floyd died in police custody in Minneapolis. And after that, you'll recall everything.
Okay, this video literally turned into never let him know your next move, okay? This is like a never let him know what your next move is video that you see on TikTok, but for racism, okay? It's just like going to such weird direct. I got whiplash, dude. What? I'm sorry. What? George Floyd? How? What is going on? What's going on? What the fuck? In 3 minutes, he went from like, he's about to be like, none of this would have happened if intergenerational marriage was not allowed in this country. What's going on? What? Or interracial, sorry. Tucker Carlson loves intergenerational marriage. Sorry, as long as white people do it. Every problem with black communities tied to George Floyd in Tucker's mind. George is a fucking mastermind. I don't know how the fuck this conspiracy unfolded right before our eyes. I don't know how the fuck black people are somehow responsible for it. What's going on? I don't know. I'm scared. I want to go home, Tucker. How? I feel like Tucker Carlson's broadcast appeals to individuals who already have preconceived notions that he is relying on to make these arguments, and such preconceived notions like white supremacy baked into your attitude already. Because if you don't, you're like, how are these things? What? How does this make any sense? You have to be blinded by your hatred towards black people's existence to be able to say, hey, you know, at the top of the hour, there is a 60-second ad break. If you no longer want to see those ads, all you need to do is subscribe. Here's the 1 minute ad break now. What's going on? That was a racist ad break? Yeah. American news seems so weird to have a guy just talking about theories and interpretations of what happened. I mean, it's not. It's just, this is what it is now. This is what American news is all about now. The last paragraph explains the rise in traffic deaths. The 2020 fatality data that shows an increase in traffic fatalities. The NHTSA's research suggests that throughout the national public health emergency and associated lockdowns, driving patterns and behaviors changed significantly, and the drivers who remained on the roads engaged in more risky behavior, including speeding, failing to wear seatbelts, driving under the influence of drugs or alcohol. Traffic data indicates that average speeds increased throughout the year, and examples of extreme speeds became more common, while the evidence also shows that fewer people involved in crashes used their seatbelts. That makes sense. People were driving like crazy because there was less fucking traffic. Also, during the pandemic, people of color were more likely to be employed in essential jobs without the option to stay home, and people were driving faster amid lower traffic levels, which meant crashes were more likely to be deadly. Well, there you go. Didn't we fucking crack that case real quick? Turns out that's all we needed, except Tucker Carlson looks at that and goes, what's going on? And then everyone's like, yeah, that's right. Black people shouldn't be driving, or whatever the fuck the main point of this video is.
What changed most of all was how we regard the rule of law. As Russ Martin of the Governor's Highway Safety Association put it, Floyd's death, quote, accelerated national discussion about equity in transportation. And that discussion would include, quote, questions about enforcement. Oh, there it is, right there. That's the answer. Cops across the country were told to stop enforcing traffic laws against black drivers.
Stop! No! 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 Is this motherfucker saying it's because cops aren't stopping black people enough? That's why there's more fatalities? Since when are police stops actually stopping traffic accidents from happening, dude? The only way a police stop actually stops traffic accidents from occurring is because in the process of the police stop, the cop car is not able to run through a fucking red light and kill a homeless person. That's the only way that traffic fatalities decrease, because there's less cops behind the fucking wheel. What the fuck, dude? What is... Oh my lord, dude. Oh my fucking lord. Something really dark is going on. I'm gonna go ahead and assume that's deliberate. There's no shot that is not deliberate. Tucker Carlson is fucking bananas, dude.
No one wanted to be accused of arresting somebody for the crime of, quote, driving while black.
You thought you knew how racist he was, but the motherfucker's the racism Hashira? I mean, he is, dude. He has been studying the Blade. And the Blade is racism. You were partying, okay? You were out there kissing girls, kissing boys. Tucker Carlson was at home studying the Blade.
So in the name of equity, the law no longer applied to huge numbers of people. Result? Thousands of Americans died. This is a trend you may have noticed, and it doesn't just apply to traffic and it doesn't just cause traffic deaths. Here's a chart that shows the number of black Americans murdered every year from 2010 to 2020. Look carefully and you notice two major spikes. One spike came in 2014. That was exactly the moment the media decided to lie to us about the death of Michael Brown in Ferguson, Missouri. Activists then used that false story to drive police out of black neighborhoods in many parts of America.
This would be true if it happened, but that's not what happened. That's just, guys, this is what is called the lying technique, where you just fucking lie and act like there were less police in black neighborhoods after BLM protests when that's not a thing. That's not even, you can't just lie about a fundamental fact in your argument. But I mean, I guess you can and be the most successful news broadcast, but it's, oh my God. This is incredible. Okay, let's continue. Holy shit. But the chart doesn't say what he's saying. It says, the chart just says total number of black Americans murdered each year increased from the rate of total number of black Americans murdered each year increased. Okay, it saw like a spike in 2014. But the second part where he's like, well, that's because cops no longer police black neighborhoods. What's going on? Like that part he just made up. That's not a real thing. He just made that shit up. Also, completely unrelated to traffic fatalities. So I don't know how that is even tied. The only thing that ties this entire conversation is black people. Okay, that's it. The only thing that Tucker Carlson is tying this entire argument together is black people. That's it. And how criminal they are and how cops are actually the saviors of black people. Holy fuck.
That was supposed to make things better. Fewer cops, less racism, right? No. Net effect, a lot of people got killed, and most of them were black. Then there's the second spike in the last decade, the biggest one yet. As we said, it came in the summer of 2020, and it's continuing today. Same reason, same effect. There aren't a lot of trends in social science that can be explained in a single graph, but this is one of them. Less law enforcement means more crime, and over time it means more dead children, more grieving parents.
What?
You don't need to be a criminologist.
Dude, that's not, what? No, what? What's going on? I ask myself all the time. He said less law enforcement. Is there less law enforcement? Is that what happened? Let's look at less law enforcement. Doesn't seem like it. Other than a major dip in 2011, seems like we have same number of law enforcement, give or take. But even then, the dip is like over exaggerated because of the way that this graph looks. Look at the graph. This graph is the worst graph I've ever seen in my entire life, by the way. Look at how zoomed in this is, dude. What the fuck? Makes it seem like half the police force left, dude. What is happening here? This is 705,000 to 26,000. And also, let's go to Tucker Carlson's argument real quick. So 2008, there's 708,000, and then 2013, there's 600,000, right? Hold on. I'm sure there's something to show for why this happened, but I want to look at how that data corresponds to Tucker Carlson. Okay, 2010 to 2011. 2013. So 2014, there's a dip in like the murder. Okay. Wait. Tucker Carlson says less cops in black neighborhoods caused more black deaths, except if you look at the actual number of cops in the United States of America from 2014 all the way to 2019, there's just a steady increase of cops. So the exact opposite of what Tucker Carlson is saying happened. Not that like these two data points are even remotely relevant. I'm sorry. Okay, this is not. So the argument, if that was an argument you could conduct, which you can't make that argument. Okay, that's a bad argument to conduct. But if you were to make that, it would be the opposite of what Tucker Carlson is saying. Policing only increased. The number of law enforcement officers only increased in the years where the homicide of black people increased. With these two graphs, there's a correlation between more cops and more black deaths. Yes, even though correlation does not mean causation. So I'm not a fucking idiot propagandist who is going to lie to you and be like, oh, no, this is the reason.
Just to understand this, it's very obvious. Even Lori Lightfoot gets it. Lori Lightfoot is the mayor of Chicago. Thanks to her equity-based policies, the city of Chicago...
Notice how she's black. Even she gets it. What's going on?
Chicago is falling apart. People are dying in huge numbers. Shootings in Chicago jumped 60% last year. Lori Lightfoot knows perfectly well this is happening. She knows why it is happening, but Lori Lightfoot doesn't care. Lori Lightfoot is so uninterested in all of those deaths, mostly of black people, that she won't even answer questions about them when asked. Watch this exchange. It comes from Tuesday of this week.
Every time you have a press conference, you say crime is down. The economy is booming.
Well, that's not true, but get your question, sir.
Across the street, we had a police officer on duty, the victim of a hit and run. We have Michigan Avenue, the magnificent miles now referred to as the Mile of Fear. The Water Tower Place has thrown the keys back to the lender. They say they don't want to be in Chicago anymore. Real Chicagoans are asking me, how could you possibly even consider running for re-election as mayor of the city of Chicago? After
Real Chicagoans. I wonder what he means by that. I mean, Lori Lightfoot sucks too. Ugh. God damn it, dude. It's just like the problems in Chicago are just not solvable by neoliberal mouthpieces, okay, for the Democratic Party. Remember that the prior mayor of Chicago could not run for re-election because of his personal role in the cover-up of the death and torturing of a black person in the hands of the Chicago Police Department. Rahm Emanuel is who I'm talking about. So just, Rahm Emanuel on his way out also sold off a portion of I think like the public land that Chicago owned, specifically to build a police academy in the middle of a black neighborhood, rather than use that land or even the money to fund the Chicago public school system, which is, of course, underfunded. Rahm Emanuel also was so valuable to the Biden administration that they literally were like, we have to give him a job. And because of his horrible background on black issues in particular, people were very upset at the Biden administration even suggesting such a thing. So they ended up giving him, what did they give him? What the fuck did they... He's the ambassador to Japan now. They were like, no, Jack, look alive. We got to give him something. Yeah. So now he's the ambassador to Japan. As a person from Chicago, Michigan Avenue is literally so safe. The only people who refer to it as that are scared racist Naperville Andes whose parents pay for their apartment. Like they were like, we literally have to give Rahm Emanuel a job in this administration. Like no matter what we do, we have to do that. Like we'll fucking die if we don't do that. Great.
For all the harm you've caused.
Well, I disagree with you fundamentally, and I don't think I need to address and dignify your comments 1 second further. Next question.
Next question. So Lori Lightfoot won't answer the question precisely because she knows the answer. In the name of equity, officials in Chicago have stopped enforcing the law. And not some esoteric tax law that no one really understands. The basic laws, like you can't hurt other people. They're releasing criminals who go on to murder more citizens. This is the triumph of ideology over human life. Here's just one example. It comes from Fox's Chicago station.
The details on the offender's prior history does call into question how he was released. This document from the Cook County State's Attorney's Office says in June of 2021, 16-year-old Anthony Brown led police on a foot chase. That's when they recovered a loaded .22 caliber Glock handgun with an extended magazine. 5 days later, he was released on electronic monitoring. 14 days later, the bracelet came off and he was put on a curfew. 6 months later, they say he was involved in a carjacking. This time, police recovered a loaded Glock 9mm handgun with a round in the chamber. That's when he was put back on monitoring. In the case of Tuesday's shooting, the 16-year-old is charged with first-degree murder and carjacking. He carjacked a Lyft driver earlier in the day and took off in that same Infiniti after the alleged shooting of a teen he didn't even know.
Stories like this constantly in the city of Chicago, cities across.
So here's the thing. Obviously, there's a major problem. Okay. Obviously, that's completely unacceptable. But like the answer clearly isn't over policing. Because if you were to look at Chicago and go, oh man, the cops are just like pussies and they're too scared to fucking enforce the laws on black people, well, then you're unaware of how Chicago policing works. Especially considering that they have fucking black sites. Like, what the fuck more do you want to... Like, when you see a 16-year-old engage in a fucking life of crime like this, in this never-ending cycle of violence and crime, how do you not look to this and go, something is deeply fucked up, like deeply and severely fucked up? How do you look at this and go, we need to do more in the form of policing, when they're already... Like, what do you want to do? Should cops just, like, I don't know, torture suspects in black sites? Yep, well, they do that already. Okay. Should they just, kill people on site? Should they have a fundamentally flawed, a fundamentally flawed surveillance system that is triggered immediately and Judge Dredd comes out every single time there's a shot fired? That already exists. So what more do you want to do? I mean, they pretty much do everything but kill on site, and in some instances they do kill on site. So what's up? Should they get nukes? Should the CPD have nukes? Is that what we need? Will this solve the problem? Stop making an argument for that. This is the other thing. People like fucking created this just completely incorrect idea that cops have been defunded, and therefore that's why they can't deal with crimes. And it's like, well, that's not even true. Not only have they not been defunded, they've been funded harder. They've been funded more. So what is that? That disproves the point that like defunding somehow led to an increase in crime, because they haven't been defunded. Also, just remember that we came here and the starting point was about car accidents and the increase in black fatalities in car accidents. Okay? Wild. That Tucker Carlson is such a master poet that he bobbed and weaved through such incredibly complex subjects that have answers, while he read the answers and then laughed about it and said, oh, roads are racist. Huh, what's going on? And then moved into violence in Chicago and is now continuing to lie about the police budgets being defunded, not having enough budgets for the police, when that's not even true either. It's awesome. Everything he said is wrong.
Gun, then the same politicians who never stop lecturing you about gun control, it's immoral to defend yourself, they scream at you. Those same people let this guy who used a gun to commit a crime out of jail immediately because equity.
That's not the reason. That's fucking insane. That's not the reason. First of all, he's 16, dude. I don't know what the reason was that he was he was just monitored instead of being put in perma-jail. I don't think the advocacy should be around perma-jail regardless.
He gets rid of his ankle monitor and commits a carjacking. Then what happens? Well, Lori Lightfoot's friends release him once again because incarceration bad. So what does he do? He drives off to shoot and kill a 15-year-old. Because why wouldn't he? There's no penalty. Now, if tragedies like this happened occasionally, you would call them accidents. You would feel sad, but you wouldn't be bothered. These are not accidents. This is happening every day in the city of Chicago. Fully 43% of all criminals convicted in the state of Illinois commit new crimes within 3 years of being released, and some are released very early. That's a high number compared to other states. In saner places like Texas, South Carolina, West Virginia, the recidivism rate after 3 years is about half of that. What's the difference? Politics. Honestly, that's not a partisan talking point. It's true. For the last decade, for example, the most liberal state in the country, California, has recorded a recidivism rate of nearly 50%. Now, keep in mind the irony here. They tell you that we shouldn't incarcerate people because incarceration doesn't work, and if you really want to rehabilitate people, you have to let them out. But they're not rehabilitated. That's why they're reoffending at almost 50% in the state of California. So incarceration has two purposes. One is to improve the prisoner so he won't reoffend. But the main purpose is to protect the rest of us who aren't committing crimes, who've got kids who just want to live a normal life.
Dude, this attitude is precisely the reason why prisons don't actually rehabilitate anyone. Like, he's describing why this problem exists and then advocating for more of the same problem. It's fucking insane. That's kind of the whole problem, Tucker, is that recidivism is the way it is because we have this attitude towards incarceration. The attitude that, we are actually not there to rehabilitate people, but more so to keep these heretics away from the good law-abiding citizens. And if that was the case, okay, if the case was that, you know, more draconian sentencing measures were actually adequate in stopping people from engaging in violent crime, then America's crime rate wouldn't be so fucking high in comparison to all these other countries. Norway would be a fucking shithole, like infested with crime and criminals, when their recidivism rate is significantly lower than America's, and their focus is rehabilitative. Those, if you substituted most social democracies in Europe and their crime and punishment, their attitude towards crime and punishment, and their criminal justice systems to America tomorrow, these fucking fascists would literally advocate to murder every politician that says we should do that. They would straight up be like, no, we need gangs of like white supremacist paramilitaries roaming the streets to kill every black person because you guys want America to be the worst. Because if harder punitive measures was successful, then a place like California would already have the lowest recidivism of all time, because California in and of itself is like what? In the top 10 of highest prisoner population per 100,000 citizens on the planet. Like California as a state in and of itself is incredibly punitive and horrible. It's also not just the criminal justice system. Crime is created because there isn't social safety nets, and education can give people opportunity. California literally had the 3 strikes law. He's insane. Exactly.
They've forgotten that part. So every day in California, politicians release truly dangerous criminals back into the public sphere. And this is why you're
not true. The fucking California early conditional release program is so frequently lied about. It boggles the mind how any of these motherfuckers can get away with this. Like, you could accidentally arrive at the truth way easier than this shit. Just watch a movie, dude. Just watch any movie that revolves around crime. If you don't want to like actually do any reading, just watch a movie. What do? They have a parole release board. You know what I mean? It's not like they don't just fucking turn around and go, oh, are you a multiple rapist serial murderer? Oh, I guess, oh no, the law says you have to be out on the street now. Like, that's not how that works. There's motherfuckers that have been serving like 2/3 of their like 15-year prison sentence or 25-year prison sentence. And now they've already demonstrated good behavior throughout that process. So now they're eligible for it. And in most circumstances, they're not even violent criminals. They haven't even like engaged in any sort of like violent felony. There are things that completely render you ineligible for this kind of conditional early release. It's not like, oh man, I guess we're just releasing you guys. We're doing catch and release. We're throwing you back onto the fucking streets now. That's awesome. Go ahead, go off, have fun. It's not how that works.
Now taking a very big risk if you dare to use public transportation in the city of Los Angeles. You could be shot or sexually assaulted. And we're not guessing. We have the tape. Here's surveillance.
Oh, Jesus Christ, dude.
Surveillance footage from LA's transit system. It's on your screen right now. It includes pictures of a woman being raped in public as she's sitting down. We're cutting some of it out. That happened in public. And it happens a lot, that kind of thing. So we went to LA for the premiere of season 2 of our documentary series. We went there because we wanted to understand how one man, a man called George Gascon, a prosecutor backed by George Soros, could have done so much in such little time to destroy the city. And of course, he did it in the name of equity. We talked to the family of a murder victim called Fatima Johnson. It was a bracing conversation.
Bro, this is crazy. Oh my God. What the fuck? How? Bro, we started off with, this is just straight Nazi shit, bro. We literally started off with like black car crashes. And now we have arrived at George Soros backed George Gascon. Okay. Like, and how he's related to, how he is personally related to the increase in crime happening in like, you know, subway stations and shit. Which, by the way, if you look at, I'm not entirely certain if there's an uptick in crimes like that, with the exception of homicide. With the exception of homicide, crime is still consistently lower than it was prior. Yes, it's higher than you know, at the peak of COVID when there were less people in the streets, but it's still lower than pre-COVID levels. The only type of crime that has increased is homicide.
Fatima Johnson, a mother of 6, was found brutally murdered in her apartment.
She was violently murdered, beaten to death, hogtied, and gagged.
The suspect is a career criminal called Daryl Collins. Collins served decades in prison for 2 murders.
Remember Willie Horton? the horribly racist fucking agitprop that was incredibly successful. It's just every night on the Tucker Carlson broadcast now. Like, we're just doing that every night now. Career criminal. Look at this scary black man. Okay? And for the record, that doesn't mean that this guy isn't scary. Like, he is. But this is what happens when you cast aside empirical evidence, when you look at the crime rates decreasing or anything like that, when you refuse to look at the socioeconomic conditions in which violent crime manifests, okay? And instead hyper-focus on a singular anecdote to draw this, like, emotional response out of you. That's what they're doing now. They're doing, this is on purpose. This is a deliberate instance. What do you think? There wasn't white people that also did horrific crimes similar to this? Of course there were. Tucker Carlson chose this one on purpose.
Murders, as well as a string of armed robberies.
He had quite an extensive criminal history, a series of armed robberies. He killed 2 different people on 2 separate occasions. He was under 25 when he committed those murders. He was eligible for youthful parole, and the parole board decided, oh, it looks like, you've rehabilitated yourself, and we'll go ahead and release you. That was a huge mistake.
Yeah, he came in and told my mom he was gonna marry her, and he would be our stepdad. Prince Charming bullshit.
Despite previous convictions for murder, and despite the fact that Fatima Johnson was bound and horrifyingly tortured before she was killed, George Gascon is refusing to add any enhancements to this case.
What?
George Gascon is not the only corrupt prosecutor who's doing this. George Soros has paid for people just like George Gascon.
What? Bro, this is literally fascist, like, Jews are using black people to murder Americans rhetoric. This is straight up, like, sure, George Soros is a fucking billionaire and involved in American politics, in politics in general, but, like, this goes one step beyond that. This is just straight up fascist agitprop, cultural Bolshevismus. That's the conspiracy, is that, like, this scary, shadowy Jewish man is 100% like, trying to ruin America by destroying the criminal justice system. Holy fuck, this is so difficult to combat. I don't even know how to describe it. Like, I don't know what to... Anyway, I don't think so. You're reaching, in my opinion. You think I'm reaching? I mean, there are instances where the people lose their minds every time George Soros is brought up. This is exactly verbatim a copy of fascist propaganda. I gave you the name of it. I told you cultural Bolshevism. That's what the Nazis used to call it. Jews want to destroy the Western civilization that is supreme and superior to all other kinds of civilization. That's where the folk live. And the Western civilization is more superior because legacy Americans, or I guess the folk, the Aryan people lived in such places, but Jews, for a nefarious purpose, wanted to destroy his beautiful legacy through cultural degeneracy, moral decay, through immigration from the colonies, immigration from black and brown places that ruin the beautiful supremacist Western culture. Shithole nations. I mean, all of this is 100% Nazi rhetoric. The only difference is now they say cultural Marxism instead of cultural Bolshevism, right? That's what Tucker Carlson's doing now. One of Tucker's head writers is a fucking huge Nazi and only got fired when people found out. Yeah, of course. Tucker's literally blaming a rich, scheming Jew for letting violent black people ravage the streets. How is calling him a Nazi a reach? Yeah, 100%. And also singling out like a one-off instance of a violent reoffender to completely fucking to make the argument that basically the whole parole eligibility system should be abolished. Holy fuck, that chatter actually says scheming Jew. I mean, he's saying that's what Tucker Carlson is saying. I don't think the chatter actually meant it like that. I think he's saying Tucker Carlson is repeating Nazi rhetoric. That is what the Nazi rhetoric would be. Yes, and was, and is. I don't think the chatter's own personal opinion is that. Christ, dude, this is fucking...
And brag now. And
dude, this hurt my soul. I can't even watch... I honestly, I can't. Like, I can't watch Tucker Carlson videos anymore.
Manhattan, others. In every case, many Americans, thousands overall, have died as a result. So who's benefiting from this slaughter, and how exactly are they benefiting? That's a fair question you've got to wonder. We do know for certain that voters don't want it. Americans want the laws they...
Who's benefiting from this slaughter? Good question, Tucker. Who do you think is benefiting from this slaughter? Do you have a... Are you going to be brave enough to say it? I wonder if he'll say it. He'll say they are benefiting from the slaughter.
They voted for to be enforced. And that is true of black voters just like any others, because why wouldn't it be? Sorry, white liberals, black people don't love crime, actually. You're not helping black people by increasing the amount of crime in their neighborhoods. And a new Pew poll proved...
Dude, there's no... Like, what? Increasing the crime in black neighborhoods? Like, who is advocating to increase crime in black neighborhoods? How are they advocating to increase crime in black neighborhoods? Well, in Tucker Carlson's world, he already made that argument. He said, you're advocating to increase crime in black neighborhoods by decreasing police. We already showed that, like, policing has not decreased in areas where black murders occurred. Okay, it actually increased. Not that there's a direct, not that that correlation means anything beyond just being simply that correlation happening side by side. Does not mean causation, but it doesn't matter. Police budgets have increased throughout this process. Policing has increased in black neighborhoods throughout this fucking process. And yet, for some weird reason, Tucker Carlson still makes the false argument that or incarcerations have increased. And for the record, incarceration got to such an unmanageable state that is the reason why they now have like low, they've lowered the parole eligibility for people who are less likely to fucking re-offend, right? So what's up? Does watching Tucker Carlson make you doom-pilled? I do. Yeah, it does make me doom-pilled.
Proves this. The poll asked black adults what they cared about most. And guess what? It wasn't racism and diversity or equity. That was near the bottom of the list. What they cared about most was, quote, violence and crime. That's what they cared about. Why wouldn't they care about it? So as Pete Buttigieg frets about racist roads, thousands of black people are dying of gunshot wounds. Normal people are sick of this. In San Francisco, the lunatic equity-mongering DA there, Chesa Boudin, is facing a recall, which could succeed. Boudin has, among other things, encouraged open-air narcotics markets throughout the city of San Francisco. And as a result, you guessed it, more than twice as many people have...
Open-air narcotics markets is encouraged throughout the city. I'm trying to comprehend what he's referencing. I'm going to go ahead and assume it's like safe needle share programs or something like that. Because that's usually what the fuck they, I mean, that's just Tucker's way of you know, talking about something that's entirely separate from what the actual truth is. Don't know how the fuck, don't know. It's probably like a needle share program, right? Or not a needle share program, sorry. A safe house, like a harm reduction safe house for where you can safely engage in using drugs, which is incredibly successful as a method of, an incredibly successful method of not criminalizing, safe injection sites or needle exchanges or that happen at safe injection sites, which is an incredibly successful method of harm reduction, which literally only has upsides, no fucking downsides whatsoever. And he is foolishly or horrifyingly claiming that this is actually a open air drug market.
Have died from drug ODs in San Francisco than from COVID. Who could support something like that? You'd have to be pretty out of touch. Well, singer John Legend does, quote, I endorsed Chesa for DA when he ran for election, Legend tweeted, and I support him now. Of course you do, John Legend. The Biden administration supports him too.
Wait, why? What? What do you mean, of course you do, John Legend? What the fuck does that mean? What? Why is he saying it like it's a bad thing? What?
Just days ago, police in Washington raided an apartment where they found a dog called Pablo. The dog had been stolen at gunpoint by thieves who also took drugs and money. At gunpoint. So police arrested 4 men, 3 juveniles in the apartment. A few hours later, Joe Biden's Justice Department announced it was refusing to charge any of them.
The U.S. Attorney's Office has decided not to move forward with what they were charged with, and also confirmed that the 4 adults that were arrested have been released. I can tell you the 7 people arrested yesterday were charged with receiving stolen property. So receiving Pablo in this case. Pablo was one of 2 dogs stolen during a Wednesday violent crime spree that police say lasted nearly an hour. There were 4 incidents reported within that time frame, including a double shooting in Northeast D.C., along with the armed robberies of 2 dog owners. Police tell us that when they recovered Pablo in a Northeast D.C. apartment, that they also apprehended some items here, including drugs, a pistol, an AR-15 style rifle, and ammunition.
So what happens when you allow people to commit violence? The one thing the state can never do. The state has a monopoly on violence.
Dude, what the fuck, dude? What the fuck? What the fuck? I don't even know what the fuck happened, okay? I don't know what the actual reason for why they release these people. I'm sure there is one, okay? Because the criminal justice system, if there's one thing I know, it's not like those motherfuckers are nice, okay? Not like they're like, oh man, we love crime and criminals. Let's just let more of them out into the street. That's not how this works. And even if that is what happened, it's still a fucking one-off that you are using as though it is the goddamn norm. Holy fuck, I'm going to lose my mind. We got here through traffic accidents. Yes, as the chatter correctly points out, still 2 minutes left. He has time to still get to LGBT fascism. How will Tucker Carlson tie this back to like trans people and bathrooms? What's going on?
In a democracy, we decide when violence is appropriate. But what happens when you allow antisocial elements to commit all the violence they want? You get a lot of violence. And your cities start to resemble third.
Bro, he's too good, dude. This is fucked up. This is so fucked up. This man occupies space in all of your fucking parents' minds, okay? And I don't know how to deal with it. I don't know what to do here. It's just like there's no, I don't know. Fuck, dude. It's bad. This is so bad. This is the most watched political commentator in the country. It's holy fuck. This is bumming me out. This is depressing me, dude. Holy shit.
Third world hellholes. People are executed in broad daylight and no one bothers to call the cops. That just happened in Atlanta.
It's 51-year-old security guard Anthony Frazier getting out of his vehicle on Monday near Cleveland Avenue in southwest Atlanta. Little does Frazier know he's about to be murdered. Now,
what? They can't show. Dude, stop, dude. Stop. He literally, dude, oh my fucking God. Bro. Every single instance of crime Tucker Carlson has shown is black people doing crime. Like every single instance. He is taking the local news style of coverage. He's like, if a black person is killing someone anywhere in the country, Tucker Carlson is going to feature it in broad daylight on his fucking broadcast.
now watch as the suspected gunman walks toward him with a pistol in his right hand. Another man sitting there in the curb will watch the whole thing happen. Police don't show the actual shooting, just the aftermath. Frazier laying there on the ground dead. His bloodied body has been blurred. The alleged gunman goes through his belongings before casually walking away from the scene. Remarkably, the witness who was sitting at the corner gets up and walks by Frazier's lifeless body, just shaking his head in apparent disbelief. Then two other men approach the victim and also appear to search him. Take a closer look. We've zoomed in on the video as they then walk away with what appears to be the deceased victim's wallet.
Something really wrong with every...
Dude, this is literally black on black crime. Like, this is straight up just like, look at this black on black crime. Look at how violent black people are. Look at how violent black people are to one another. That's all this is. Can we see the video, lol? No, you can't. They described it already, okay? Fucking gross. It's also perfectly crafted in a way where it's like, look, the victim is black too. So you're not even racist. Like, dude, this shit is so fucking depressing. Oh my God.
Everyone in that video except the dead man. There's something really wrong with the rest of us for putting up with this and not figuring out why exactly it's happening. It's a little more complicated than racism and mass incarceration. Something really dark is going on. But we can say that these sorts of things happen a lot more than they otherwise would when you decide that laws should be applied on the basis of skin color. When you decide that, a lot of people die. They bleed out in gutters on city streets as the rest of the neighborhood hides indoors in terror. And as it happens, most of the dead
To be at a loss of words, bro. This is like 16 minutes of some of the most horrifically racist shit I've ever fucking seen, written in a way for like people who already have such racist opinions or people who are in the margins to look at and go, why do you think this is racist? Like, he's just showing what's happening in America without even thinking about how this is Atlanta, Chicago, and I forget the third place that is thousands of miles apart, okay, that has millions and millions of inhabitants living in said cities. And these are cherry-picked in Washington, D.C., sorry. Notice how the three Oh, San Francisco as well. Notice how the 3 areas that I was mentioning, not San Francisco, but D.C., Atlanta, Chicago. Do you feel like there's something important there? What is the unifying factor in all of these cities? Oh, that's right. It's the unifying factor in those cities is that they are black neighborhoods, or they have a high density of black people living in them, showing black on black violence in these cities. Okay, these are cities with significant black populations. They are that he's talking about while cherry picking singular acts of violence. Okay, singular acts of violence over the course of millions of people doing horrible shit to one another. Okay, across multiple different avenues, and he's using this to create a narrative that like black people hurt themselves all the fucking time, and they need cops to fucking stop themselves from hurting themselves. And some black people actually want cops to stop other black people from hurting themselves. Like, police are the saviors in this circumstance. Black people can't help but be brutal and violent and savage to one another. There's a Jewish guy involved in destroying the black community or American society in general by putting in like a woke DA that refuses to fucking again through cherry-picked singular instances, creating this narrative that there's a woke DA backed by a Jewish shadowy billionaire, a scheming Jewish shadowy billionaire that is like personally unwinding the criminal justice system on purpose so that black people will continue being scary and killing one another and killing you, a white person watching. It's completely psychotic. Every part of this is insane. This entire thing. He hit every fucking trope, dude. This is just 16 minutes of him saying the N-word with a hard R over and over and over again, okay? That's it. Straight up. Oof. Only lip syncing? Yeah, dude. If he only, I mean, look, we would get him if he lip synced the N-word, though. You know what I mean? That's how we would get it. This is the most popular news broadcaster in this country, dude. Holy fuck. Out of the estimated number of murders in the United States, 48.7% were reported in the South, 20.8% were reported in the Midwest, 19.3% were reported in the West, and 11.2% were reported in the Northeast. And also, I mean, look at the fucking title of the video. Something really dark is going on. Holy shit. Let me just describe something to you, okay? Let me describe something to you here as well. Like, and his solution is to, throw more people in jail. Obviously, who are the people we need to throw in jail? Black people. Those are the scary guys, right? And he's literally fucking saying, he's saying this as though we're not already doing that. Like, it's not enough that we have been doing that. It's not enough that we have already this policy set in place for so many years now. We need to do more of it. That's the only way to stop this.
Dead come from the very group our leaders say they're protecting. We love you so much, we're letting you die. That's the equity agenda. Too bad BLM never told us how it was going to end.
Oh, okay. Well, he hit the BLM note too. Yeah, Black Lives Matter is responsible for this. Dude, that killed me. That killed my mood. That killed my brain. Holy fuck, that was awful. That was so bad. Holy shit. I'm done. I'm sorry, guys. I'm never watching a Tucker Carlson video again.